Hello lovely people and welcome to my channel. It's Hila here, Saturday Night Stitch, and thank you so much for tuning in. Today we've got a browse through of the February 2024 issue of Burda, and before I jump straight into it, I just wanted to share with you these daffodils that I have in my vase. So I bought these as a cut flower in my local supermarket, and I just love them because spring is nearly upon us in probably another month or so. And these keep reminding me to be joyful and excited about the coming of spring. So wherever you are in the world, I'm sending you some daffodils. Right, let's put the flowers aside. I've got the line drawings and I've already traced a pattern from this issue. So I'm just going to get the pattern sheets out because they make everything really thick, especially after you've opened them. Okay. So this issue, quite an interesting issue. I have to say that the preview, two things caught my eye, and that was the dress, the shift dress, and that's because it was pink, purpley, and you know I love that sort of color, and it's got a 60s style to it. And then there was the top that I then traced out, and when we get to that, I'll show it to you. Okay, so first off, we've got jacket number 119, which is a cropped, I want to say biker style jacket because it's got that asymmetricalness, but instead of having those sharp angular corners like the November 2023 one, it's more curved. So it's got the softer yin curvature to it, and then they've used some gray buttons here, so it's quite interesting in how it's got the cropped neckline. Wish the model was happier. She just looks really unhappy in that, so it doesn't kind of make me inspired to want to get that. But anyway, and then moving over here, we've got what I think is more of a, I've seen these in Japanese style books. I don't know if you've ever seen those Japanese pattern books that are very simple and minimalistic, and they tend to use a lot of tie belts on them. Sorry, I've got my Instant Pot going, so any moment now you'll hear some little pings. It is the Instant Pot going. I'm making some tomato soup for dinner. So it's got the ties, right? And instead of buttons, and to me, I just think ties are just so fiddly in terms of actually putting it on and then taking them off, just really unnecessary. So I wasn't too plussed with this. I wasn't too impressed by this particular style, and I didn't think that it translated well in the photo shoot. And they make a suggestion there that you use grosgrain ribbon. So this one also caught my eye. I like this because it is a cropped cardigan and it does have a deep V plunging neckline. But I do have a cardigan that I'm using at the moment, so it didn't necessarily immediately make my must sew list. But it's got a very good design details, I think, and it actually has functional pockets that do seem to be usable because it's got a blouse-sonny effect. If you can see over there, it means that you can use the pockets without the things that are in the pockets showing up, which is a big pet peeve of mine when it comes to using pockets. And then we come to top number 102, which to me was more of a what on earth, who on earth would want to wear anything like that? So if you see on here, we have a keyhole neckline detail here that crosses over as a strap, and that's just going to tie over there. Now, as somebody who does Pilates, I've been doing Pilates for a few months now, and I definitely feel the benefits of it, and I'm very aware now about neck placement, neck strain, and how that can impact the rest of your body. I cannot imagine. I feel so much pain just looking at the construction of this, particularly in terms of thinking how this is going to work. So as you can see on here, you have to tie it pretty tightly around your neckline in order for it to not droop, especially if you want it to keep that lovely little circle thing going there. And that's just going to cause some strain on your neck. Whether you like it or not, you're just going to end up pushing your neck forward and downwards just because there's that strain on it. So I really struggle to think how this would be flattering on anybody, and it wouldn't be comfortable, especially considering the amount of work that is required to do this on silk jersey, no less. So I wasn't very impressed with the execution of this one. I'm curious to see if somebody in the Burda sewing community is going to make this and what their thoughts on it would be, but I didn't feel that it was something that would be ergonomically sound, if there is such a thing in clothes. Okay, and then we've got a simple V-neck vest over here, which I'm sure I've seen in a March 2022 issue, I think, except for it was a little bit longer. And here they've done a contrasting panel at the front, a little bit of bust shaping here, but otherwise very unstructured and quite loose. And then we've got the palazzo style pants that just have so much volume, but these ones, they have that wrap effect going where you can show a bit of leg if you want to. So not quite my style, but I can see some people enjoying this. And then we've got the oversized unstructured jacket look. Again, it's being given a very clean neckline with the lapels having been removed, and you can kind of see it on there. Very, very, very masculine, very, very boxy, and paired with these wide leg trousers over here, you do have just this really unstructured look, which is not necessarily one of my most favorite looks, although I really, on the preview, I quite liked this bit here going upwards. I thought, oh, this would be great as a skirt actually if it wasn't the trousers, because I do like the angular hip yoke pockets and the slightly thicker waistband over here. And there's a little bit of hardware, though I'm not a big fan of hardware, but I did think that this was a little bit attractive. But as an ensemble, I think it's just too much volume over there. And then too much volume at the top as well. I think in terms of volume, I read somewhere that you always have to remember that if you're going to go with volume at the bottom, have something more tight fitting at the top. And then if you go with volume at the top, have something more tight fitting at the bottom. And I can see why that's a bit of a rule. Okay, and then moving on, we've got a sheer dress here, a very brave choice to sew this up in organza. So it's just a shirt dress, but I suspect that many people who will make this will probably use a cotton lawn or a denim even. It's got some nice elasticated cuffs, so that's quite helpful. And then continuing with the masculine trend, we have the combination of a very masculine men's shirt in terms of the placket and the cufflinks, because it's a shirt that has got cufflinks, but it's being combined with the standard Burda blouse, I would say. So the standard Burda blouse is that one that has the bust darts, doesn't have an opening, is pullover, so it has a really wide neckline. And it's overly unstructured and untucked to me. It's just I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan. That's my bias, actually. I'm not a big fan of the overly unstructured, untailored look. I think that if it's tailored, to me, it does look so much nicer when it fits properly. For instance, these trousers, number 122, I think that these are really lovely trousers, and they have a contoured waistband, which means that they would sit and feel very comfortable. So nice one. And then they've got that little vent here that I've been seeing everywhere. A lot of people are wearing these trousers with the vents. It's like, okay. And then we have a simple shift dress here with some interesting design lines. So you have an asymmetrical empire line here, and then you've just got a Dior dot on just the one side and some gathering. So the bust shaping has been incorporated with the gathering over here and with this little Dior dot over there. Interesting. I would like to see what it looks like within the Burda community. I didn't necessarily think that this particular fabric and photo shoot sold it for me, and normally I am a big fan of shift dresses in general, so we'll have to see. And then there's a styling section on here. Okay, and then the colorful section, which I liked in terms of the color. I would have loved a happier vibe from the models, but hey ho, you can't get everything you want, and that's okay. So we have a simple top here with a lot of draping at the front, and a slight bishop style sleeve with an elongated cuff. So very dramatic, very, very full on, and perfect for those that like the luscious look. And then over here, oh, we've got, this is the other top that really caught my eye. So it's got the shaping in the form of this pleating that goes from sort of just above the hip all the way up to the bust line over here. And then you've got simple sleeves that are almost square in construction. And when you look at the model on here, you can see that it does create a really lovely silhouette for the broad shoulders. Now I have a similar style silhouette, but it was a dress that I made, so it, very much similar to this, but then it just went down and it had a waist seam, and I loved that. I really loved that. But the problem is, to me, this style only works in a rayon challis, a very lightweight drapey fabric, which doesn't fit in with current winter needs. So for me, this one was like, okay, this is a potential for summer or late spring. So it's sort of like on a maybe later, but I do think, and I've got several fabrics that I think would work really well with this, that are viscose rayons in there. So yeah, so I thought that this one, really nice, but not the correct season for me. And then we've got those trousers again. Last time we saw them, they were in that really tailored formal gray check, and now they are in a viscose, a bright pink viscose. And again, I think that this would make a really lovely skirt. I think it would be so much better as a skirt than as wide leg trousers. And then we have a dress here with a center front button placket and what looks like a little bit of elasticated detail. And for the life of me, why do we have zips over here? We don't need to have zips over there. But looking at it here, right, it's been made in a viscose, and I'm not sure what's happening over here. Let's see, can you see what's going on with the hem here? Now we can see her reflection, so it's not like she's slouching over or overly hyperextending forward, but something has gone awry with the hem, and I think it's because the skirt, probably the side seam is cut on the bias in order for them to achieve this chevron look, and this wasn't given enough time to settle, because if you're cutting on the bias, and especially if you're using something quite as drapey as viscose, you need probably between 3 and 5 days of just letting the hem hang in order to get it even until it stops dropping. So I think that this is what happened here, personally, but lovely interpretation. And then we've got the shacket or the shirt jacket over here, curved hem, covered placket. So what's different about this one compared to the other ones is that it has got a covered button placket, which does create a slightly more formalized look on what is otherwise something that is quite informal. And then we've got, this is the jacket over here, very 1970s, I would say, except for it's missing the tassels. I don't know if you've ever remembered those from the 1970s films, and they would have the tassels. That's what that one reminds me of. So here we go. And then we've got the line drawings all over here, but we're just going to skip on the line drawings and go over to more details about that jacket, which has been made in a cotton blend fabric in brown. No doubt the brown is to evoke the 1970s style. And then, oh, we've got the shift dress, right? Which definitely did catch my eye because, again, it's a shift dress, and shift dresses tend to work well on me because of the broad shoulders. They can just sort of hang off of me. And then it's the color. It's a beautiful color. And I thought it had cute little pockets, very, very unusable. You're not going to be able to use those. They're too small for it, but still cute nonetheless. So I thought that, so there was something just a little bit off about this that I couldn't quite put my finger on. And then I realized that there was a fit issue here. So I just thought this would be a good opportunity to point this out because I am broad-shouldered personally. And this is something that I struggle with, particularly with RTW clothes. And that's actually one of the reasons why I started sewing. But if you look at her shoulder across here, right, you can kind of see that there's this weird puckering that is happening here, right? This is showing that her shoulder is actually broader than where this seam line is falling. So you can see over there. So this wanted to be a little bit further out to reduce that, and you can see it over there as well. So I'm not sure what happened here with the sample sizing or anything like that, but it does look just a little bit awkward, or there isn't enough ease in the sleeve cap, that there should be more. So it's either her shoulders are too broad and it needed a broad shoulder adjustment, or there isn't enough ease in there. But I just wanted to point that out because I thought it was a good opportunity to show what it looks like when the shoulder isn't quite fitting. And with a shift dress, right, you have to get the fit right in order for it to work. A shift dress can be such a beautiful, versatile thing to wear if the fit is right on it. And then it's just, it's brilliant. Anyway, little lesson over on my own particular personal issue that got me started in sewing. We've got that dress again. So this is another version of the shift dress, and this time it's been made in a drapier fabric, whereas before it was in a gray poplin type fabric. So it wasn't quite as fluid or as drapey as this. And I do think that this one, to me, it looks a lot better than the first one that we saw, because there's a lot more interest going on here, and there's a bit more contrast, and you can actually see the seam lines, which creates more interest than when a solid color was used. And then we have this skirt, which of course is a dramatic looking skirt, and it had pink on it, so I was very attracted to it, even though there is no way a skirt this style would suit me. This would suit people who are very tall and very, very slim, just like the model here. And it's got that really extra wide waistband, which just doesn't work for me. I have to do something that's probably 1/3 of this size so that it doesn't roll over. And you can see on her over here how thick that waistband is. But I liked the little detail of pleating it over, so it created these jogs on this really lovely high contrast fabric. So I was like, okay, that was quite nice. I can appreciate it, though I know that I would never make it to wear it. I mean, look at that. Tell me she doesn't look like she's being strangled. Tell me, it looks very choky, doesn't it? It reminds me of the chokers from the 1990s. Yeah, less said about that one, the better. But it does have the sewing lesson on there. And then there's a little section on jeans. And we have this denim jacket, which at first I was like, oh, not another denim jacket, Burda. But then I saw the cuffs. And I thought, ooh, they have a bit of volume and they taper in at the wrist. And you know, I'm a sucker for anything that tapers in at the wrist. And I thought that is quite a lovely feature. However, the pictures that they have shown of this, they are not really showing us how the sleeve is looking. So I'm a little bit nervous about it. So I will wait until I see what other people make with it. And then maybe if I have time, I might make a 12 of it. But it does look, if we look on here, it does look like it just having those, you know, the volume at the sleeve that tapers in just could give it a nice, something of interest that isn't in a normal denim jacket. So yeah, I thought that was a well done, nicely played. And then we've got Best of Fantastic Four, where they have some really lovely street style images, as well as the line drawings and their own vision of it. And I thought that this section was really quite good. I like how they're trying to be more, I want to say edgy, but not quite edgy, but they're trying to be more focused on what people are actually wearing on the street. In terms of, you know, obviously these are going to be influencers of some sort, but I thought that it was something different and unique. But we have a trench coat over here, and so despite the line drawing making it seem like it is something that is very voluminous and like a swing coat, the fact that it belts up over here, it does look quite nice. And there's some ideas for how to style it on here, which I thought was quite a nice little touch. And then we have long coat number 2 with some styling tips. Is this unstructured style coat with these big pockets over here, 2 buttons, and it does have a waist. So you could hypothetically add some waist shaping on there if you wanted to. And again, some styling options that show how you can wear it with trousers and how you could wear it with a dress. So if you wanted to create a very long line, elegant look, this is a very elegant coat in my opinion. And then we have something that's a lot more sporty, and it is a parka over there. And for the parkas to work, I really think that you need to buy the right sort of functional fabric for it. Otherwise, I think they can look just a little bit weird. Yes, I think that that's always the trick, finding the right source of fabric. But again, some really lovely examples of how you could style them. And I do think that it's important for Burda to do that because, you know, sewing, fashion, style are very closely related. And so you want to encourage people to sew your garments because you want them to feel inspired to be able to create particular looks. And, you know, we kind of need a little help in that inspiration, you know, in the inspiration department. You know, it always helps to present your things in a way that does make them enticing. And then we've got a very, I call this the mother of the bride coat because it's one of those that can easily go over a matching dress. I don't know if you watch the royal weddings, you'll sometimes see sort of like the dowager queens or the elderly duchesses. This is what they'll be wearing. And it is lovely, particularly if it's in those lovely pastel colors. And it's got some pockets over here. And with the princess seam lines and the Dior dots, it does offer some lovely shaping. Most of the street style examples don't really show it, but I think that if you make it, you would be able to taper it in as you want to. And I thought this was a lovely, very classic, very elegant interpretation of it. To me, I just thought this was spot on. Absolutely spot on. And she's wearing a shift dress underneath there, and that works really well. And then we have a section here where these are basically repeated patterns that come from past issues, and we know they're repeated because they've used the models exactly the same way. And you know, some people commented on whether this counts as, is that right? Is it copying? Now, I can only give my experience from academia. When I was working in academia, it wasn't plagiarism or copying if it was your own work. You could reuse your own work in however many different ways you wanted to, and it didn't count as plagiarism. I don't know how it works in the fashion industry, but that's how it works in academia. Needless to say, we finally arrived to the section that I actually traced out. So, roll neck top has been traced out in size 38. And I'm going to be making this. So I'm not going to complain too much about this particular repeat because honestly, I don't remember exactly where this was, but this is exactly what I needed to complement the skirt that I just finished from the January 2024 issue, which I love to absolute bits. And I want to make a top to go with it. So that's been traced out and I will be making that. So this is what we have with Burda 2 2024. I quite liked the tops, this particular one and the one that I made, but obviously the one that I've traced out, not yet made, but hoping to make very soon. But the one that I traced out, it won out because this is actually weather appropriate for me, whereas this is more of a spring summer top for me. Now it's your turn. Let me know in the comments down below, are you going to be making anything from this issue, or is this a nada, no way, no thank you? Let's chat in the comments, and until I see you next time, lovelies, happy sewing. Bye.